college football right now in the burner. NBA season tipped off on the Turner. Giannis looking like he be coming for the throne, but LeBron's still by himself in a league of his own. NFL regular season almost halfway done. World Series LA Houston, man, it sure has been fun. Eric Bledsoe looks like he's no longer a son, and the Eagles are hot. Can we say Super Bowl run? What's up, fans? Sports fans. Today is episode 3, Ball Don't Lie. Thanks for tuning in today. Got a full schedule for you. Gonna talk a lot of sports, not just NBA. Normally I'm straight NBA, but today I'm gonna go for it all. So yeah, just like my lyrics said, we had a lot of things up for grabs today, especially college football, really deep into the season. Kind of a lot of important games lately. Penn State, Ohio State this weekend. The NFL is about halfway done, so it's been pretty exciting. NBA just tipped off. It's a couple weeks into the season. Some interesting results so far. So that's what we're going to look at today. We'll kind of see what we've got going on. First, let's start off with some college football because it was nuts this weekend. The new top 25 poll is out. The AP top 25 college football ranking comes out very soon as well, the football playoff. Alabama still stays at number 1, but they're not unanimous number 1 this week. Georgia got 2 number 1 votes. Just pretty impressive. Georgia looks really good. They still haven't played a lot of competition, but man, they are just rolling the teams that they play, just as Alabama is. It's looking like we could see a number 1, number 2 SEC title game, which would be ridiculous. But I think both those teams are going to make it to the playoff because the loser of that game, I don't think will drop below 4, and they shouldn't drop below 4, especially if both of them go into that SEC championship undefeated. Ohio State moves in to number 3. After that loss to Oklahoma early in the year, they have now climbed all the way back up after this impressive win over Penn State. Penn State had that game. Then Ohio State just went rolling. The Buckeyes really got it going in that fourth quarter. JT Barrett had a perfect fourth quarter, no incompletions, 3 touchdowns. What a comeback. Ohio State got the win. I expected them to win. I didn't think they would be in that much trouble against Penn State, but man, that was a fun football game to watch. Wisconsin has moved up to number 4, which is pretty crazy. They still haven't played that great of teams yet either, but that should be interesting going down the stretch of the season with Ohio State and Wisconsin being in opposite divisions in the Big Ten. We could see a 1-2 SEC championship and a 3-4 Big Ten championship. That would be crazy. That'd be pretty fun to watch. So that's been really fun so far with college football. Notre Dame has moved up to number 5. They're good, especially if they win out this season. I think it's going to be hard to keep them out of the college football playoff. I'm worried about Wisconsin, though, making it to the college football playoff because I think that they'll go undefeated but then play Ohio State in that Big Ten championship and get beat. And then Clemson's going to win the ACC title, and I think Clemson's going to slip in there. So right now I've got Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, and Clemson in that playoff. But Notre Dame, if they win, it's going to be very interesting on who they're going to keep out, whether it's Clemson or Ohio State or the loser of the SEC title game. I mean, Notre Dame has made this thing incredibly interesting. TCU is number 4, but just like I said, as soon as they got into the tough part of their schedule, once they start playing some ranked teams, not quite able to handle it. Losing to Iowa State, who now has jumped all the way up to number 14 in the polls after that win against TCU. It was at home, but they shut down TCU to only 7 points. Miami won again, still undefeated, but dropped a spot. Oklahoma still got a shot, but Miami dropped because they've won all their games, but against teams that aren't that great. They've won by not very much. They just beat North Carolina by only about 5 points. North Carolina is not a very good team. Oklahoma State won. Washington took care of business. Virginia Tech handled their business. UCF moves up, still undefeated. Auburn moves up. USC moves up. Stanford, LSU all moving up. NC State lost pretty poorly to Notre Dame and moved down. Mississippi State moves back into the top 25. Memphis moves up. Michigan State, Washington State both drop. And Washington State's foe, who just beat them, is Arizona. They are now in the top 25. Their quarterback, Khalil Tate, is incredible. So those are the updated rankings for you guys. Top 25 college football. Man, it's been intense, but I'm looking at Alabama, Georgia, SEC championship, and Ohio State, Wisconsin, Big Ten championship. I think the loser of the Big Ten championship is definitely out of the college football playoff. But the SEC championship loser could still find themselves in that top 4 when the rankings do come out that final week. Shifting to the NFL, man, the Eagles look good. They are dominating dominating the NFC right now. I mean, they look like they are in a league of their own in that conference. I mean, they're destroying everyone that they play, too. They had a really good game, actually, against the Redskins, but they still pulled out the win. Eagles have only got one loss. Their point differential is one of the top in the league. The Rams are still one of the top in the league as well. They're playing pretty good football. The Seahawks, though, I think are the best team in that NFC West still. I'd still give it to the Seahawks. The Rams are doing really well. I think they'll make a wild card this year. Now, the NFC South is very interesting because the Buccaneers are struggling more than I thought. The Falcons aren't quite as good as they were last year. The Panthers are super inconsistent. Cam Newton has been very interesting this year. I don't think he's that great. I think he had one good year, that year that he took his team to the Super Bowl. The Saints, though, are looking pretty good on a good win streak. They're playing really good football, but I don't know if their defense can really hold up and win that division, but that'd be great if they did, because at the beginning of the year I said, watch out for the Saints. You can't count Drew Brees out. Drew Brees is showing why. In the NFC North, the Vikings are looking great. I think the Vikings or the Lions will win the division. The Lions have got to start stringing some wins together, though, because the Vikings are starting to kind of pull ahead, and the Packers are definitely out without Aaron Rodgers. I think the Cowboys are still going to make the playoffs. I don't think the Redskins will. The Giants definitely aren't. Giants are horrible. But the Cowboys, I think, are going to get that other wild card spot along with the Rams. And I think the Cowboys could make some noise. I think they're still really good. They've just kind of had a few tough games. But I love the Cowboys still and how they're playing. I think they're going to be fine to make the playoffs. In the AFC East, I think the Patriots are going to start, kind of separating themselves from that division. The Bills are decent. The Dolphins are decent. Except for the Dolphins just got beat by 40 by the Ravens. 40-0. That's pretty embarrassing. So they're struggling without their quarterback. They've got quarterback issues as well with Tannehill and Cutler injured and things like that. The Jets definitely are going to start kind of going back to where people thought they were and losing more games. But the Patriots are going to separate themselves again from that division once again. Win the AFC East. In the North, Steelers, of course, they're the class of that division. People were kind of freaking out at the beginning of the year when they had a couple of tough games, but they're going to do just fine. So I think they'll be okay. The AFC South is probably the most interesting race right now, with the Titans, Jags, and Texans. The Texans still got a shot. It's tough not having that anchor of J.J. Watt on the defensive end, but I think that they'll still be fine. I think they'll compete. I'm not sure if I'd say that they'll win the division, but no one's consistent enough in that division. The Titans are very up and down. Their point differential is actually third in their division. The Jaguars are top in point differential. So if I'm going by that, I'd probably give the edge to the Jags, because I think they've got a solid defense, and they just made a trade to kind of beef up their defense as well. So that should be interesting with that division. And then obviously in the AFC West, the Chiefs still leading. The Broncos have lost a couple of tough games. The Chargers starting to look pretty good. Tough game against the Patriots, but the NFL almost halfway done, almost halfway through the regular season, I should say. And it looks like to me the Eagles are the best team in the NFC right now. Probably by a long shot. I'd say the next closest team is the Seahawks and the Cowboys. So I'd give the Seahawks probably that second first round bye. But then looking in the AFC, it's a lot of good choices up there. The Patriots, the Steelers, and the Chiefs, I think, are all, good choices for possibly winning that AFC and getting that number one seed this year. So keep tuning into the NFL. It's been a really fun season. Some good games this weekend in the NFL. Moving on to the MLB real quick. What a World Series we've had, huh? The Dodgers and the Astros. It's going to be going back to LA since Houston did get a win at home. So it's going to be a great series. I think it's going to go 7. I really do. I think it's going to go to 7. I want to say Houston's going to win, but if Game 7 is in LA, which it is, it's going to be tough to beat the Dodgers, especially if Clayton Kershaw pitches that Game 7. It's hard to hit off him. And if he does pitch that Game 7, I got to say the Dodgers are probably going to end up with a World Series title, but I'm hoping the Astros pull it through, because that'd be really cool to win their first World Series ever. The Yankees got rid of Girardi, which I thought was pretty interesting. I'm very torn on whether I agree with that decision or not. I'm not a Yankees fan, but I think Girardi did a good job, because if you look at the numbers, during his tenure as Yankees manager, he had the best record in the MLB as a manager over those years that he was with New York. They let him go. I think someone will pick him up. I don't know who. A lot of people thought that the Nationals might, but they just picked up the Cubs bench coach as their new manager, Martinez. So they've already got a new manager. Pretty interesting. The Dodgers and Astros have been kind of complaining about the World Series baseball they've been using. It's more slick, so it's harder to throw a slider. But obviously, that doesn't really give any advantage to any one team. So it's kind of a funny complaint, but who knows what's going to happen with that. But great World Series. What a postseason so far. It's really cool that the Dodgers and Astros ended up meeting each other, especially Houston during their tough time, and now they're in the World Series, possibly have a chance to go win it. So it's been really fun to watch that. Real quick, I'm going to hit NHL because the new expansion team, the Vegas Knights, are 8-1 as an expansion team. They are one of the top teams in the league, and they're brand new. That's pretty cool. Normally, expansion teams are one of the worst teams in the league. Now, granted, they're only 9 games into the year. They've won 8 of them, which is pretty impressive, with a goal differential of plus 15, which actually finds themselves second in the entire league behind the LA Kings, who look mighty fine. The Kings are doing really well. St. Louis Blues are looking good with 9 wins. Tampa Bay Lightning looking good. Washington Caps got off to a great start with Ovechkin, but now have lost a few, and they're kind of struggling. A lot of people, I think, expected that, though. The Ottawa Senators are looking pretty decent, while the Penguins still looking good. New Jersey's looking good. So NHL, about 10 games into the year on average for each team. So kudos to the Vegas Knights. It's really exciting. They're pretty close to us too. Utah and to St. George and that area. And it's just really cool for people who get to go and watch, and especially Vegas, to have a professional sports team there right now while they're waiting for the Raiders, if that does happen and go through. One of the really cool things I'm excited for, on November 10th, college basketball gets tipped off. That's exciting. I mean, regular season isn't quite as exciting as March Madness, of course, but because the regular season is going to start, that means March Madness is around the corner. That's my favorite time of year. It's like Christmas for me. It's going to be really fun. The first night doesn't have many good matchups. It has West Virginia versus Texas A&M, which both teams could be in that top 25, so that could be a fun matchup. Other than that, the rest of the day it has got a lot of games on schedule. It's going to be televised, but not really any good matchups. Duke will play that night. I think North Carolina plays as well. In the coaches poll, Duke is number 1, Michigan State number 2, and the top 10 rounded out by Kansas, Kentucky, Arizona, Villanova, Florida, Wichita State, North Carolina, and West Virginia. I'd watch out for Wichita State. I mean, they're now a powerhouse. They're in a good conference, which means they can recruit even better. If they can hang on to that coach, they're a really good coach, I think Wichita State could be a powerhouse and actually could contend for a national title. And this season, I think they will contend for a national title. They've got a really good squad, returning a lot of their top players. I think they're returning their top 7 or so scorers from the team last year, which is rare to happen. And they've got a really young guy, Chimay. He's really, really good. So watch for Wichita State this year. Look out for them. But Duke's kind of the class of the nation this year with all of their great recruits, returning Grayson Allen, who should have a really good year as long as he can keep his behavior under control. Michigan State will have Miles Bridges, potentially a number 1 draft pick next summer. So, of course, Kansas and Kentucky. So I don't think Kentucky's going to perform as well as they're ranked right now because they're really young. And I kind of look at them as a team like the one where Nerlens Noel was their best player. But they came in ranked really high, had a lot of athleticism, and didn't have a lot of refined skill, and it ended up hurting them down the stretch. I'm kind of seeing that. They could still win the SEC, but I don't think quite as dominantly as they have been. Of course, I gotta get to the NBA. The NBA's first couple weeks are now in the books, and we have had some interesting things. In fact, to be honest, I am straight confused by the NBA. I have no clue what's going on. For example, number 1 in the East right now is the Orlando Magic. And not just in record, but again, I like going to point differential because it's a really good indicator of how well a team's actually playing. Because you could be, 10 games above 500, but your point differential is negative because you've won a lot of close games, but you've lost games by a lot. The Magic are 4-1 with a differential of averaging plus 10.8. That's an average win of 11 points per game, which that's including their loss. So an average game for them is they win by 11. Now it's only 5 games into the year, of course, but they have beaten 2 really good teams. They've beaten the Cleveland Cavaliers, destroyed them actually, and they destroyed the San Antonio Spurs. Granted, the Spurs were without Kawhi Leonard again, but the Spurs were undefeated. They're still good. He beat Popovich. So Magic looking really good. The Celtics now 4-2. The Pistons 4-2. They're interesting because I think they're super inconsistent. Like one night they'll play really well and another night they'll kind of be bad, but the Pistons look really good. The Wizards have lost 2 in a row, but they lost to the Lakers on kind of an interesting game. That was a pretty fun game. And then obviously lost to the Warriors in that crazy fight between Draymond and Bradley Beal. Can I just be real for a minute? Neither of them should have gotten ejected. Like, yeah, it was a scuffle, but they probably should have just gotten flagrants or technicals or something. Because there was really, no punches thrown, nothing. They were kind of, hugging each other almost, and it was just kind of dumb. It looked like a really bad wrestling match. And I guess because Draymond's jersey got ripped, they decided, something has to be done, so we kicked them both out. Kind of disagree with that. But either way, they lost. So the Wizards are now 3-2. The Raptors are 3-2. But they've got the second best point differential in the East at 10.2. How about the Cavs, man? I'm confused by them. them. Like, they've lost a couple of games badly. They've lost to the Magic badly. They lost to the Pelicans. Now, give credit to the Pelicans. Davis had 30. Cousins had a triple-double and 29 points. Drew Holiday had 29 points. And Etuan Moore had 24. Like, it's hard to beat a team when they do that. So, I mean, I'll give the Cavs a pass on that. But losing badly to the Magic, I don't know. Cavs have got to get their rotation because they've already had 4 different starting lineups and they've only played 6 games. Like, they got to get something going. They got to figure something out that works. The rest of the East, though, I mean, is kind of the way it should be. The Knicks, the Bulls, and the Hawks down at the bottom. Bulls held to just 69 points this weekend against OKC. It's pretty embarrassing. OKC's got a good defense, but 69 points, that's pretty bad. The 76ers trust the process. They're 2-4. Ben Simmons looks so good. I think he's going to win Rookie of the Year. That dude has just got raw talent, raw athleticism. He looks like a young LeBron James. Colin Cowherd made kind of a good point that he doesn't have that same demeanor and mentality as LeBron, but if he can develop that, he could develop into that kind of player. He still can't shoot the ball worth a dang. I mean, he is a terrible shooter, but his athleticism and raw skill really gets him a long ways. The Heat aren't doing as good as I thought. I mean, they've played some good teams, but hopefully the Heat kind of pull it out because they had a really good second half of the year last year, but they're not playing so hot in the first few games of this year. But looking at the West, obviously the Warriors have won 3 straight now. They're playing pretty good again. They've had a couple of comeback wins. They were losing to the Wizards the other night by quite a bit, and then their bench just went nuts, and they came back and won. So the Warriors are starting to kind of look like themselves again, looking pretty good. The Blazers looking good at 4-2. They're leading their division. The Rockets are good at 5-2, but they've gotten beat twice by the Memphis Grizzlies, who are actually number 1 in the West. Point differential, they're only plus 6.7, while the Clippers lead the West and the league actually in point differential, plus 13.8, which means their average game they're winning by about 14 points. Now granted, they beat the Lakers, who aren't very good. They beat the Suns, who are terrible, but they're looking pretty darn good. Clippers are number 1 right now in the league in point differential, followed by the Trailblazers at 13.2. The Spurs are 4-1, Rockets 5-2. Timberwolves, Jazz, and Thunder all tied in that division at 3-3, but the Thunder are 0-3 in their division, losing twice to the Timberwolves, once to the Jazz. The 2 Timberwolves losses were kind of heartbreakers. Both of them were really close games. But man, I'm kind of worried about them, but at the same time, like, it is early and they've got time to kind of gel, and I think by the end of the year, they'll really pull it together and look stunning because really the big 3 is the team. And Adams looks good this year. He's rebounding. He's getting the ball in the hole. He looks really good, but like Robertson's offense is terrible. Great defender, but his offense is really bad. He airballed 2 free throws in a row this last week. That was viral because everyone was like, how can an NBA player airball 2 free throws in a row? He's one of the worst free throw shooters ever in the NBA. But other than that, like, Thunder don't have much. Their backups, Patrick Patterson, I don't think is getting enough playing time, but he hasn't been as good. Raymond Felton's, he's average, he's okay. But then you look at the rest of that bench and like, who do they have? Nobody really. I mean, Josh Hustis has gotten some playing time. Alex Abrinas is just a 3-point shooter. He can't really do anything else, can't really defend. Jeremy Grant's just athletic, but he can't shoot. He's not a very good dribbler. He's a decent defender, but he's not very strong. I'm just worried about them in the playoffs, actually. I think regular season, they'll kind of pull it through at the end, and I think they'll be one of the top teams. I'm still going to give them 3rd in the West, but behind Golden State and Houston. No, I'm going to give them 4th, actually. I'll give San Antonio 3rd. I'll give OKC 4th. I'll give Clippers 5, but I think in the playoffs, it's going to be tough because they just don't have a bench. They've got 3 great scores. Carmelo's leading the team in scoring, and Westbrook's got 3 triple-doubles already, which is cool. Westbrook's actually playing a lot more like his old self, but he had a triple-double with only 12 points against the Bulls, so, and granted, he only played, like 2.5 quarters because they won by almost 40 points, but they're kind of struggling right now. But the Pelicans have won a couple in a row. They're actually not doing too bad when they've got all 3 of their best players, Holiday, Davis, and Cousins on the floor. They're tough to beat. Very tough to beat. Trailblazers still have a really good backcourt, but I think when it gets down to the, grind of the season, those 2 aren't going to be able to carry the team to the playoffs. I do see the Jazz making the playoffs. They've got a stellar defense. Their offense, though, okay. I was at the Lakers game against the Jazz. There's one particular play that really solidified what I think of Rudy Gobert and what other people should understand. Yes, he's a great defender. He can block shots, he can rebound, and he can dunk, but the dude cannot score, and that's their problem. They need to have him where he can get the ball in the post, make a post move, and score because he's 7'2", long wingspan. The guy's tall, he's athletic, he's strong, but he can't score. And to illustrate that point, He had Jordan Clarkson on him on a switch the other night against the Lakers, and they went away from him. He had him ISO'd on the block against 6'5" Jordan Clarkson, and they went away from him. They clearly do not have confidence in their own big man and scoring the ball because he's not that kind of guy. And it's fine. He can, scrape by his career, being one of the best defenders in the league and getting rebounds and dunks, but that's all he scores on is dunks given to him by his teammates or set up for him by a short miss where he can just dunk it home. But other than that, he's not going to get the ball and make a move. He's not going to make a mid-range jump shot. He's not going to make a hook shot. It's all going to be on dunks. So I think the Jazz got a lot to think about moving forward with Rudy Gobert. They've got to get somebody that can put the ball in the hole consistently. Ricky Rubio's decent. Rodney Hood's just inconsistent. One night he'll do really well and one night he won't. I think they've got to turn Donovan Mitchell into that guy. But, man, his dunk was filthy. That putback dunk was nasty. Nasty. That got me out of my seat in a heartbeat. But I think they got to turn him into that guy because he looks like he could be. He's got a decent jump shot. He's quick. He's athletic. I think they've got to really mold him. I think they should start him, actually. Bring Rodney Hood off the bench. I think Rodney Hood would make a great sixth man and coming off the bench and scoring some points. But Donovan Mitchell, I think, could be the future of the Jazz in scoring. I really like him. I think he looks really good. The Nuggets don't look as good as I thought they would. The Suns won a couple games since firing their coach. The Kings, not very good. I thought they were going to end up beating the Pelicans, but DeMarcus Cousins decided to put up 40 and 20, which is incredible. The Mavericks, of course, bad, but they're just young and, wait until Dirk gets out of there so they can kind of put their focus elsewhere. But the Lakers are a very interesting team. They're young. They, at one point, I had 3 rookies on the court the other night against the Jazz. The future looks bright for them, but the present not so much. Lonzo Ball is very interesting. I think the dude, will develop his jump shot. Right now it's still ugly and not good. But his problem is he tries to pass the ball too much almost. The other night against the Jazz, he had a couple times where he had an open layup and then he tried to pass it out to somebody and he turned it over. The dude just gotta be hey, everyone knows this is Lonzo Ball's team. Give me the ball and I'm going to go get a couple buckets. It may not be a jump shot, but it may be using his length and speed to get to the rim and using his savvy to do that. But he hasn't been doing it so far, which has been really tough for the Lakers to watch, I think. Other than that, I think they need to play Julius Randle more. I like him. Jordan Clarkson still is pretty good, but he's a big contract right now. I think they're going to eventually trade him to try and lure some other big names this offseason with cap space. Caldwell Pope was awful the other night. I think he really needs to step up if the Lakers are going to even have a shot at competing for the playoffs. I don't think they will this year. They're just too young and they're developing. Hart looks good. Kuzma looks good. They're going to be good pieces for the Lakers moving forward, especially when they try and get some veterans. Maybe try to lure LeBron, I don't know, to try and help him out. But I just think that the Lakers need to really think about this season. And if they really want to move forward, I think Lonzo Ball's got to kind of be the man and be on the court a lot and try and score the basketball, which he hasn't been doing so far. But again, the NBA has been nuts. I'm still really confused because things like, the Jazz beating the Thunder soundly and then going and losing to the Phoenix Suns 2 nights later or whatever. Things like that. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. Or the Cavaliers, dominating the Bucks and then going out and getting destroyed by the Magic, losing to the Nets, and then getting destroyed by the Pelicans. I mean, their 3 losses are to the Magic, the Nets, and the Pelicans. All 3 teams last year didn't make the playoffs. Now, they've beaten the Celtics. They've beaten the Bucks. I mean, the Cavs, they've beaten the Bulls, but that's obviously, expected. But 2 wins against the Celtics and the Bucks are pretty good. Now, I'm just going to get real quick my take on Giannis Antetokounmpo. Everyone's freaking out about the Greek Freak. He's good. He can get to the rim. He's lanky. He can score the ball at the rim. He's a decent defender. He rebounds the ball, decent passer. But people need to really slow their roll and just calm the heck down about Giannis Antetokounmpo. They're like, oh, he's the next LeBron. He's going to take over as the best player in the NBA when LeBron retires and take over, and Durant thinks he could be the best player ever. Well, first of all, who cares about Durant's opinion anymore? I don't, because Durant's I'm not going to say it. Anyways, Giannis Antetokounmpo has been playing well, scoring, about 30-something points a game, which has been unreal. However, he still cannot shoot. He's averaging 35 points a game just by getting to the rim, which is fantastic. Good for him. But when it comes down to postseason, he will not be able to shoot the ball because players will just lay off of him. Until he can prove that, I don't see the Bucks getting out of the first round, to be honest. They could get out of the first round, but no farther than conference semis. But I would say they wouldn't even get out of the first round because I think they're going to be a 5 seed this season and losing that first round to the 4 seed, whoever they play, probably Boston. So, yes, he can score. Yes, he's averaging 35 a game. But Antetokounmpo, when it gets down to it, cannot shoot the ball. And a couple of stats I saw this week, with Antetokounmpo on the floor, his team is -3 in point differential. -3. But without him on the floor, they're +9. I mean, that says it right there. And I think it's because Giannis is kind of a ball stopper and he does take a lot of shots, but it's because he can't shoot. And the Bucks don't have an identity. They don't have like, oh, we're a 3-point shooting team. We're a great defensive team. We're a great rebounding team. They don't play fast-paced. They're slow. They just kind of do something different every night. And I think they need to establish an identity to be a successful playoff team. Another interesting stat is if you try to compare him to LeBron, please stop, because the first 4 years, LeBron averaged about 26 a game. He got his team to the finals. He averaged twice as many assists as Giannis, twice as many rebounds as Giannis. Giannis averaged, 15 points a game in his first 4 years? Quite a difference there. Now, yes, he's got a lot of potential. Yes, he's really good. I'm not downplaying how well he's playing this season. It's impressive. He's a great player, definitely all-star worthy, one of the best players in the East. But LeBron's in a league of his own. I would even say Durant's in a league of his own. While I hate to say that, he is still the second best player in the NBA. He's better than Giannis. He's more well-rounded. He's a better player, better scorer overall because he can get to the rim just like Antetokounmpo can, but he can shoot the 3, shoot the 2. Russell Westbrook leading the league in assists. He's definitely going to continue that. He's going to finish the season leading the league in assists. He's averaging a ridiculous 12 assists a game, and he looks really good doing that and trying to get his players involved. I mean, it's tough because he really needs to be himself. Carmelo Anthony had some really nice words for Russell Westbrook this week and saying, hey, man, we came here, we meaning me and Paul George, we came here for you. We came here to play with you, for you to do your thing, for you to be the player that you are. We will fit in. Those are paraphrased words, but that's basically the gist of what he was saying. And that's really nice of them to say because really I think Westbrook's been trying too hard to kind of get his teammates involved and show that he's able to do that and he's not just a ball hog. But we already know Westbrook can pass. He was 3rd in the league in assists last year. He averaged double-digit assists with a team that could not shoot the basketball. So we already know he can pass the rock and he can get his teammates involved. He's just got to play his regular game. Paul George and Carmelo Anthony will get touches. They will fit in. Carmelo's leading the team in points per game. Paul George is also playing pretty decent basketball. He's scoring. So I think Russell Westbrook just needs to kind of calm down a little bit, really get back to his self. He needs to just play normally, get to the rim, do his thing, because right now he is getting his teammates involved. Paul George is averaging 19.5, Carmelo's averaging 24, and Westbrook's averaging 21. He's averaging 21 points, 20.8 points, 9.8 rebounds, and 12.2 assists. He's still almost averaging a triple-double. If he just gets a couple more rebounds a game in the next couple of games, he's going to be averaging a triple-double again. Like, he could do it for a second year in a row because that's who Russell Westbrook is. Steven Adams looking impressive, improving even more this year. 14.5 points, 8 rebounds compared to like 12 and 7 last year. So the Thunder look good with those 4 guys, but after that, it's just kind of like, I have no clue what's going on because Patrick Patterson's only averaging 1.3 a game. I thought he'd be a lot better than that. So, again, awesome NBA season, but it is ridiculous. No clue what is going on. Cavs apparently not fazed by their early slump. Lonzo took the blame for their loss against the Jazz the other night. So, it's kind of nice to see him taking, responsibility for what happened, which he should, because I think he was the reason, because down the stretch they had some opportunities and Lonzo just kind of, choked it away. But other than that, what a season. Keep watching, keep seeing what's going to happen. I think eventually the Warriors are just going to pull themselves away from the rest of the pack, and just like everyone thought, and blah, 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 we already know what's going to happen. Same with the Cavaliers. But the East looks like it could be up for grabs a little bit in terms of the regular season. When postseason comes, the Cavs are going to be just fine. That's the sports take for right now, guys. Great things going on right now. We've got MLB, NBA, NFL, and NHL, the 4 major leagues in America going on all at the same time. Great time to be a sports fan. I know many of you probably won't care at all, but I love cricket, and cricket's playing right now. They got a lot of cricket matches going on. India just beat New Zealand. Jai India. Go India. So anyways, if you have any free time and you really have no clue what you're going to do, just tune into some cricket. See if you can find some cricket matches to watch and watch India or something, because it's really fun to watch, actually. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, guys. That's it for Ball Don't Lie, episode 3. Keep subscribing, keep sharing with your friends, whatever you got to do. I love doing this, so thanks for watching, guys.